Okay, we're going to start in 8.1, and I'm going to just go over some problems over here, starting with 37. 4 to the 1/2. That's pretty simple. Anything to the 1/2 just means square root. There's, I'm going to say, an invisible 2 for every square root. We don't usually write it in, but you can if you want to. The bottom of the fractional exponent goes right there. That's the index. And the top goes to your number inside. So 4 to the 1, or just 4. That's your answer, square root of 4. Well, actually, I was about to circle that, but square root of 4 can be simplified to 2, of course. Okay, let's do number 38. 4 to the 3/2. Alright, so we have the same index. Remember, the bottom goes on the outside. The top can go to this number. Same index, so we just have a square root, and the 4's in here, cubed. Now, an interesting thing about this is this number right here, you can apply it to this right here and try to find out what 4 cubed is. 4 times 4 times 4. And you can do that problem and then find the square root of that. Or you're allowed to do it this way, where you just find the square root of 4. Find that first, that should be easy, and then cube what you find. So I'm going to do it that way just so you can get familiar with it. Square root of 4 is 2. Okay, see, I'm bringing over my parentheses and I'm keeping that exponent so we don't lose anything. 2 cubed is 8. Even if we had done it the other way, 4 cubed, 4 times 4 is 16, 16 times 4 is 64. So you would have had the square root of 4 cubed, the square root of 64. You would have gotten 8. And look, same answer. Either way you do it. Okay, number 39. 39 is 16 to the 1/4. Focus. There we go. Okay, so our index this time is going to be 4. Square root of 16 the 4th root. So what times what times what times what is 16? Think about that for a minute. That is 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. So that comes exactly out to 2. Because this problem, because it's set in the directions, simplify taking only principal roots, excuse all the writing, principal roots, that means we're not going to worry about whether it was plus or minus 2. We're just going to say 2. That matches what the original number was. You can worry about that in a later time. Alright, problem 40, 16 to the 3/4. This is very similar to this one right here, except we've got one more step. So the 4 goes on the outside. That's your index. The 3 goes on the inside, or it can go in an outer parenthesis. It doesn't matter which order you do it. So I'm going to do it outside, because if I was to do 16 cubed, that's going to take a lot more time and effort. As it is, I already know what the 4th root of 16 is. That is 2. And then cube the 2. That'll be 8. So you can see the similarities. Doing that first problem was helpful. Okay, let's go on to 40. I was about to expound, but I really didn't know where I was going there. Okay, -8 to the -1/3. Okay. So let's just put our -8 under the radical. And the 3 is going to go on the outside. And the -1 is going to go out here. I'm just choosing to put it outside the 8. So what times what times what is -8? Thankfully, there are 3 numbers being multiplied, because we know 3 negative numbers can make another negative number. So that's how we know our whatever we're going to find is going to be a negative. And we know 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So all negative, they'll make a -8. So this part, the answer to this part is -2, but it's to the -1. We still have to finish that out, and generally if you have a negative exponent, they don't like you to write it like that. They like you to make it a positive exponent. So we've just finished learning about how to switch those around. All you do is you put it on the opposite side of the bar from what it's on. You make it into a fraction, basically. I'll just show you. Okay, -2 to the -1. There, everything's over 1, if you want to think of it that way. And then we're going to take it and put it on the bottom. So we'll have 1 over -2 to the 1. Simpler way to write that, your negative can just sit out front of the whole fraction, just like that. -1/2. Alright, let's do number 42. 15 5/8 to the -2/3. Okay, this looks complicated. Let's just take it a bit at a time. Let's first switch this and get it to be an improper fraction. So to do that, you just say 8 times 15 and that plus 5. So let me just do that workout here. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 4 is 12. 120 plus 5 is 125 over 8. That is how you change something to an improper fraction. I know it's been a while since you had to worry about that. Okay, 125 over 8 to the -2/3. Our problem now is still, this needs to not be negative. So let's move that over. Alright, so we'll just have 1 over 125 over 8 to the +2/3. Now we've got ourselves back on track. Alright, I'm going to work down from here. Like working down. Okay, so 1 over, now let's put it under a radical sign. Okay, the 3 is on the bottom, that means it's outside. 125 over 8. These both of these numbers happen to be cubable numbers, however you say that. And I'm going to put my 2 outside and worry about it when I'm done. Okay, it's really under that bar, however you want to see that. Okay, so 1 over, and I will write it like this if it makes it easier for you. You can break these up. If they have matching, if they have, these two were, this exponent applies to both of them. So of course, under this cubed radical applies to both of them. If it helps you think of it better, though, I can write the radicals separate. They'll just have the very matching index that they have up here. And so this will be squared when it's done, and this will be squared, of course. So, but you can look at it easier this way. 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5, yep. And 2 times 2 times 2. So, I'm just going to go to the side again. I can't make up my mind. Alright, 5. Don't forget to square it. Over 2. Don't forget to square it. So, I've just broken it down. I could have written them both like this. 5 over 2. And all of that squared. Let's just do it that way. Alright, hope that's not confusing. It doesn't make a difference. Alright, 5 squared is 25. 2 squared is 4. All we did was go like this. Just like that. Okay, so our answer is 1 over 25/4. Do we need to do any more simplification as far as that goes? Let's see if we can find a way to get this on top and not have it look so crazy. Do you see why I'm multiplying that fraction, this big, giant part of the fraction, by the same thing on the top, the same thing on the bottom? I'm really not changing the value of anything. by multiplying it by 4/25 over 4/25. I just would rather not have this be on the bottom. I'd rather have whatever comes out be on the top. This will cancel. These will cancel each other. So when I multiply across, these canceled. This makes 4/25. Just always remember why we can do tricks. I'd like for them to be more than just tricks for you. I'd like for you to know why we do them. We've multiplied this fraction by 1, essentially, because the top was over the bottom. If you have anything over anything, 3 over 3, it makes 1, because 3 divided 3 times, 3 divided by 3 is 1. 2 can go into 2 how many times? Just 1 time. So 4/25 can go into 4/25 how many times? Just 1 time. That's why we're able to multiply that fraction and not change anything. And so when you multiply the bottom, you got 25 times 4, that happens to be 100. And you got 4 times 25, that's also 100. That's why that means 1. So now our 1 is on the bottom. And we don't have to write it. We just have to write this, 4/25. Okay, hope that was understandable. All right, let's do problem 43. (81) to the 0.75. Ah, they're trying to scare us with a decimal, but 0.75 just means 75 hundredths. Fix that 7. Which, hopefully, you're comfortable with just saying 3/4. Just like quarters and dollars and all that makes it so easy. 3/4. Anyway. You can do the math out if you're not comfortable with that, but I know it's 3/4. So 81 to the 3/4. Alright, now let's go ahead and start putting that under a radical and doing all that good stuff. Alright, so 81, 4 goes on the outside, 3 goes on the inside, but of course I would like to do that later. So the 4th root of 81. Let's try 3. I've got a 3 feeling about this. 3 times 3 is 9. We can do these two 3's together and then we'll just combine the 9's. There we go. That's 81. So 3 4 times makes 81. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just write 3. That takes care of all this. Now I just need to cube that 3. 3 cubed. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. So the answer is 27. Okay, let's do number 44. Negative 64 to the negative 2/3. Negative 64 to the negative 2/3. Okay, so let's just put our negative 64 under a cubed root radical. Thankfully it's a negative with a cubed root, so all of our numbers will be a negative, and that makes sense, hopefully. Okay, so the cubed, I think that's going to be a 4. Let's test it. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 there we go, 64. So our answer to the cubed root of negative 64, that's 4, or negative 4 I should say, but don't forget the other part of your problem, don't forget about this, to the negative 2. Alright, quick and easy way to get rid of a negative. 1 over negative 4 squared. Like that, actually. I need to keep that parentheses. Alright, so negative 4 squared makes 16. 1 over 16. If I hadn't kept that parentheses, that would have really switched it up. And that would not have been good. It would have just been a negative 4 squared without a parentheses would have been negative 16. So it's good to pay attention to keeping your parentheses, keeping track of your parentheses. So 1/16 is our answer there. 44, let's do number 45. Which is greater, 64 to the negative 2/3 or, I'm going to write out the original problem, or 1/64 to the 3/2. Okay. Alright, let's just convert that real quick. I'm going to go ahead and put my 64th on the bottom, my 64 on the bottom. 64 cubed root of it squared. Cubed root of 64 is 4. We've been doing a lot of these problems. Squared. So, don't let me forget that. 1 over 4 squared. That's 1/16. Okay? Not done with the problem yet. This is just that written in a sensible way. So I'm comparing this with whatever this written in a sensible way comes to. 1/64 to the 3/2. Okay, so we're going to do 1/64. Do what we always do, put it in radical form. Cubed root of, bottom goes on the outside, square root of it. And then I'll worry about cubing it when I'm done. Okay. Square root of 1/64. What times what makes 1/64? Well, as far as fractions go, I know 1 times 1 will make the 1. So 1's on the top. What times what will make 64? 8. So that's 1/8, and we're going to cube it. 8 times 8 is 64. What's 64 times 8? I do not know. 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 6 is 48, 49, 50, 51. Okay, guess it's 512. So 1/8 times 1/8 times 1/8 is 1 on the top over 512. That is our answer. Oh, it's not our total answer yet. We need to compare these two. What is greater, 1/16 or 1/512? Hopefully it just totally makes sense to you that 1/16 is going to be a larger slice if you slice that pie 16 ways as opposed to slicing it that many ways. Alright, I'm going to stop there and hopefully you have learned something.